fault on the part of the powerful controllers. Lord Shiva can drink an ocean of poison. It's not a problem. If we try to do that, it's out of the question. The sun drinks urine from a contaminated place and doesn't become contaminated. Rather, the place becomes sterilized, purified. So or fire, whatever you supply to it, is purified or remains uncontaminated. So this applies for Krishna's transcendental activities. Even if Prabhupada said, even if you think Krishna is lusty, he's unlimitedly lusty. So this is Krishna. And Sukadeva Goswami cautions that one should never try to imitate the activities of the super powerful. Even in one's mind, one shouldn't dream of it. Otherwise, one will destroy himself. The statements of the Lord and the devotees have to be given priority in our actions. And the Lord's exemplary activities should be followed, but not the activities impossible for us or beyond our station, as they say, beyond our place. So one should carry out the instructions of the supreme controllers and not try to imitate them. Krishna is beyond the piety and impiety of the material world. He's free from false ego. What is that? Namam karmani limpanti, name karma pale spriha. He's not interested in any material achievement. And there's no material work or material action that can affect him. Itimam yo bijanati karma bir nasabhadyate. Even those who know this about Krishna are freed from the reactions of material activities. Then what to speak of the Lord himself? The devotees who are satisfied in Krishna consciousness are unaffected by material reactions. So what about Krishna? How could he be affected? Then another argument's given that, well, he's the super soul in the heart of all living beings. So what's wrong? He's already there in the hearts of the Gopis. So if he comes out and dances with them or touches them, there's no fault. No one would criticize that you've expanded yourself as the super soul within all of these women. That's immoral. No, that's the business of the super soul. So if that same super soul appears outside, what is the harm? Krishna, then someone might ask, why does Krishna even show these activities? And the answer is given that it's to show mercy, so that people will be attracted to Krishna's transcendental activities. And finally, Shukadeva Goswami gives his benediction. Vikriditam prajapatu biritam travishnu shraddhanvito nishinuyad tavarniyedya bhaktim param bhagavati pratilabhyakam hridrogam ashprapahinocha chirena tira. Anyone who hears these activities of Krishna and the Gopis, Krishna, the original Vishnu, Shraddhanvita, faithfully, and Anushinuyat, from pure devotees, or who describes them, Pratilabhya Bhaktim Param Bhagavati. He obtains a blessing of pure devotional service to the Lord. And kamam pridrogam ashu apahinoti achirena dira. Thus he quickly becomes sober and conquers lust, the disease of the heart. Yes. All right. Are there some questions, some comments?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I'm a little bit confused by the purport when it says, or Prabhupada's words when it says that that the gopis, their physical bodies were with the husband and their spiritual forms were dancing with Krishna. It sounds like that they would have like us. It sounds like they would then have like us, a material body with a soul.
They have spiritual bodies, and then Krishna, or the Yogamaya, creates some, what would you say, show bodies. Not show bottles, show bodies.
And then it also mentions that the husbands were enamored by the external energy.
Yeah. External energy, what is it saying? Let's see what it says. Yeah. Here in the word for word meanings says Maya, by the spiritual potency of illusion. They were thinking that way. By Krishna's illusory energy, but which illusory energy? Yeah. Just in the purport to the same verse, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes a verse from Rupa Goswami saying that the husbands of the gopis were together with doubles manufactured by Maya. The gopis are the internal energy. They're not even like us, souls and material bodies. They belong to the internal body, energy. See if there's something more about that. Yeah, it just says mohita, maya, tasya maya. By Krishna's maya, they were bewildered. So maya means energy. Maya means energy. So even if we take it as the material energy is part and parcel of the spiritual energy.
And if I can ask one more question. We know that by hearing the Shastra, we're purified, and the modes of nature are purified, and that's how our heart becomes purified. What is it about the pastimes of the gopis that that it specifically purifies us from lust, when it seems like from a logical perspective, it could incite lust.
Seems
From a logical perspective,
that it would work the other way. Prabhupada gave, I'll work backwards. Prabhupada had given some advice that if we feel some lusty impulse, we can remember Krishna's pastimes with the Gopis, and that will help us. That will help us conquer those material feelings. And one devotee, Rupanuga Prabhu, we were mentioning him yesterday, wrote to Srila Prabhupada, said, is there a similar hint regarding anger? And Prabhupada said, yes, when you're angry, you can think of Lord Nrsingadev. He said, you're only a little angry, he's unlimitedly angry. In first canto, Narad Muni says, isn't it true that the same thing that causes a disease can be applied therapeutically to cure the disease? Just like we drink too many, have too many milk sweets and too many milk products, and we get stomach problems. So then the cure for that is yogurt. The Ayurvedic doctors mix it with a little stuff, but basically it's the yogurt Prabhupada said that does the work. So it's the same thing. Yogurt is just milk, but it's administered therapeutically and cures the disease. So in the same way, like if we say to someone, don't think of lusty activities. No, it's mine. I want to think of lusty activities. I can't help thinking of lusty activities. All right, think of lusty activities, but these lusty activities. Otherwise, we say, don't think of, and immediately I think of. Don't think of a white rabbit, and immediately you think of one. So don't think of lusty activities. The Mayavadis, get rid of all desires, make your heart, make your mind free from all thoughts, all clinging, all desire. Very hard to do. But if you tell the mind says, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to keep bringing in stuff that I've got stored up. But if you tell the mind, all right, you want to think of lusty activities, think of these lusty activities. And then by hearing of these activities, because it's Krishna, one becomes purified. Just like so many demons, they're killed by Krishna, they attain liberation. Because it's Krishna. So as soon as Krishna is there, it becomes pure. Pavitram paramam pavan.
But Marge, if we're telling someone with lustful inclinations, if we're then telling someone with lustful inclinations to then, read the pastimes, these pastimes of Krishna, isn't it a route to sahajism?
That can be also. Therefore, they have to read it under proper direction as it's presented here. It's like half narrative and half cautions. The directions are longer than the pastime, practically. So therefore it has to be handled carefully. It's not for common discussion. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't talk about these things with ordinary people. But very carefully, these things have been mentioned here. generally when we discuss, we see, that these things are originally there in the spiritual world, but we don't go into much detail. We don't go into much detail. So here there's a little more discussion. And then there's literature where these things are described elaborately, but that's intended for liberated souls, souls who are advanced in devotional service, not for the ordinary devotee even. Not that because I've, got 100 rupees in my pocket, I can go to Loy Bazaar and enter into the pastimes of Radha and Krishna and understand all these things. Very carefully, we have to hear about these things. In that, I mentioned the other day a book by Srila B.R. Sridhar Maharaj, where he talks about keeping these things on the higher level. In one place he was saying, no, but did I lose my thought? I think I did. Two thoughts. Yeah, now I've got them back. He said that in Gaudiya Math, the devotees were permitted to, that there's some high sections of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the higher section of discussions with Ramananda Roy, and like that. He said we were permitted to read them, but not discuss them. You're reading the book, it's not like they're blacked out, but they were off limits for discussion. In that same book, Srila Sridhar Maharaj tells the sort of subject matter of Ujjwal Nilamani by Srila Rupa Goswami. He outlines the book, and then he says, at least this is what I've heard, I haven't read. I'm such an advanced Vaishnava, and we'll go to Loy Bazaar and we'll pick up these things and we'll discuss and we'll be on the fast track to Gopi Bhav. But he said, at least this is what I've heard, I haven't read. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, it says that when we got second initiation, then we've been ordered by our spiritual master that we have to chant 3 times. But it's a saying among the devotees that we can also chant more than 3, and some says, no, we should stick to 3. So just want to know your advice on that. What's the Shastra says on this?
On Gayatri? Tree Sandhya.
3 sandhyas.
And if you're offering to the deity or for some purpose like that, Prabhupada never advised us to chant more often. I don't know about any particular injunctions, but Prabhupada never recommended, like Gayatri meditation or something like that. Tree Sandhya, that's all.
Yeah, thank you.
And Kirtan.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. In regards to what Srila Prabhupada mentions that, the husbands of the gopis were standing next to them and like they never left their company basically. Isn't it this similar to the advice that Lord Chaitanya gave, if I remember well, to either Rupa Sanatana Goswami when they were working under the Nawab, when he gave the analogy of the the wife at home, how she should conduct herself if she has a paramour.
Raghunath Goswami, I think.
Was it? Who was it?
Raghunath.
Raghunath Goswami, sorry. It seems like similar, like saying, you have to keep your devotion like an internal thing. You should not be showing it.
Well, that's also there, that one is advised not to wear one's confidential, wear one's ecstatic devotional service on one's sleeve. That's mentioned. That when there's ecstasy, the devotees try to keep that hidden. And the sahajas, they're working overtime to try to put it on display. Yeah.
And also wanted to make another point. Srila Prabhupada mentions during the narration, those who are actually in Krishna consciousness respond rightly to the dancing of Krishna. They do not try to dance independently. And this is also part of Srila Prabhupada prayers when he reached Boston Harbor, when he was saying, Lord, make me dance, make me dance, make me dance 3 times, he said. And there's also an expression in the West that says dancing to somebody's tune. Means that you're supposed to be doing what that person would like you to do. So these things are seem to be all interlinked in a way.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you. Very nice.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I'm just wondering, I'm not sure if it's a good question, but I'm just wondering how the demigods were allowed to watch the Rasa Leela.
And special privileges. They're demigods. Let's see. Of course, that's one thing the demigods had a contribution to make. Raining flowers and singing the glories of the Lord and so on. That doesn't say. Okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, is it that the sages who performed the penances in the previous lives, so they had some material lusty desires, so that just to remove those desires, Krishna performed the pastimes to purify them? That's
No, it's not mentioned, not that I saw here, but they had a spiritual desire to associate with Lord Ramchandra in conjugal love. But Lord Ramchandra, I'm Ekapatni Vrata, I only have one wife. I don't do these things, so I can't accommodate you. But in the future, I'll appear as Krishna, and then you'll have your desire fulfilled. So that happened. Okay.
one more question, Maharaj. That is this the purpose of the Ras Leela? Is it just to remove the lusty
No,
desires
the
from
purpose
us?
also is wants to reciprocate with his devotees. So one benefit for us is that we become purified. But these are the eternal exchanges of Krishna with his internal energies. So Krishna has his own purpose apart from curing us. These are his eternal activities with his devotees in devotional service.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, like Krishna was just 8 years old boy, and these gopis, all these married women, and even demigod wives also. Like, how come they have like desire to marry him? Because for 8 year boy we have vatsalya bhav, but not but difficult to understand because these gopis were elderly women and 8 year boy
Gopis were?
were elderly women, like
No, not the elderly
they were
gopis.
married. They were married, so like
Married means still, like in India, they would be married at 10.
okay.
Not that they're like 30-year-old women who are.
But for 8 year boy, like how this desire to be as husband, like because when you see 8 year boy, you don't have.
Boy, this is a little different. That's one thing. Is that a girl at a even at late childhood, she's maybe thinking about getting married and having a husband and having children. Boys aren't thinking about that at all, right? That may come later. But so the girls at a young age can think of these things.
Maharaj, can I just wanted to ask why you did not read Ujjwal Nilmani.
Why I didn't what?
You said you did not read Ujjwal
No, I
Nilmani.
not that Srila Sridhar Maharaj said.
Oh.
Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, Srila B.R. Sridhar Maharaj. He said, he gave the outline of the book, and then he said, at least that's what I've heard. I haven't read it.
Is it should we read it? Is it recommended? Is it recommended we should read it?
Well, what's the purport of my having told that? It's not a prohibition and it's not a recommendation. It's something to think about. That here's an exceedingly advanced Vaishnava. He's saying, I haven't read it. And what are we? We're lucky if we can get from one end of the mantra to the other without committing 10 offenses. So one might think about that. I'm not saying whether you can read it or not read it, but you might want to think about that.
Thing is, like, is there any eligibility for read such type of books? Please, Mike.
Is there any eligibility to read such type of books? Because Ujjwal Nilmani is very.
Yeah, these things should be read by those who are advanced in devotional service, not by the ordinary neophyte devotee. For us, there's Bhagavad Gita, there's Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion, Srimad Bhagavatam. These things may be there, but we shouldn't be. Prabhupada didn't encourage us to be so very eager to go out there and find the most Rasic literature and dive in. Like Prabhupada gave the example of medicine. Not that you go into the drugstore and say, what's the most powerful medicine you've got? You take what's prescribed by the doctor.
As well, I remember, like, I don't exactly. Prabhupada, in one statement was saying, like, when living in Vrindavan, especially, one should read Goswami's book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Goswami's book.
Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, first start, Upadeshamrita. Other books by the Goswamis we can read, and therefore I'm not saying it's off limits. This Brihad Bhagavatamrita has been published, which I would recommend. So, but one has to have some sense of where we are and accordingly perform one's devotional service. We see that Srila Prabhupada didn't discuss these things with anyone. Yeah, it's not that his inner, that with the rest of us, he was talking about Bhagavad Gita and Sarvadharma Pratyaja and all that kind of stuff. But then when he'd get together with a few of his inner circle, he'd be talking about Ujjwal and Nilmani and, the other advanced Rasic literature. No, he didn't. To say nothing of, public discussion. Even privately, he didn't select out some, and he had, some quite advanced disciples. And still, he didn't call them from wherever and say, tired of, it's good that I'm able to talk about Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, but I need a few men that I can discuss real Krishna Katha with, or, advanced Krishna Katha with. Please come and stay with me. Now I'm leaving this world, or I'm not leaving this world, but whatever, please come. Let us talk. No. Didn't do it. Is that a prohibition? No, it's not a prohibition, but something to think about. Went to Radha Damodar temple, announced that in Kartik we'll read from Nectar of Devotion. Where does he read from? The very beginning. Didn't jump right into, more advanced topics because, we already know the other stuff. Right from the beginning. Yes.
Hare
And
Krishna,
this maybe is the last question. Yes.
Okay. So here in this chapter it is stated that Krishna is self-sufficient and he doesn't need nothing, but he just wants to actually satisfy the Gopis and has that Rāsa dance and exchanges. And on many other places it is also written and said that the Gopis are actually just there because they want to satisfy Krishna. And I read somewhere that Radharani said that she just want to clean Krishna's place and to cook for him, but because he won her, then she just surrendered to him. So what is actual?
Krishna's aptakama means he's self-satisfied, or whatever desire he has is already satisfied. So how is that possible? Then why, are the Gopis trying to satisfy Krishna? They're Krishna. They're Krishna's energy, which is not different from Krishna. It's just like Narayana Rishi. He was doing tapasya in the Himalayas. And as usual, Indra got worried that this Rishi may get so much power that he'll take over my spot. So then the usual strategy, he sent a squad of apsaras, beautiful heavenly women, to distract the rishi. The rishi is incarnation of Krishna, Narayan. So they came and they did their number. They sang and they danced and they tinkled their ankle bells and they looked this way and that way and they moved this way and that way and all the things that usually work. But then they saw that Narayan was expanding equally beautiful girls from his own body. And so they were frustrated. Nothing we can do to attract him. He's already got, better products already in stock. And then Indra was thwarted. So the rishi said, anyway, I'll give you one of them. And he gave Urvashi to Indra. So that means Narayan Rishi was completely self-satisfied. He had nothing to be attracted to because it was already there within himself. So the Gopis are part of Krishna's own energy. They're not separate from Krishna. Not that Krishna has to go looking where's pleasure. He has his own potency for pleasure, which he can expand. Therefore, someplace in these descriptions we read that Krishna's playing with the gopis is like a person touching his own reflection in the mirror, because they're Krishna's own energy. So in that way, you're just like a man who has no money. You can give him money, and it's like, wow, it's a big deal. And you can buy him. How much will you do this for me? Well, how much will you give me? I'll give you this much. Sure. Because he has no money, and you supply it. So you're okay. I'm yours. But a millionaire, he doesn't care about your money. If I want to get an appointment, I say, well, I'll pay $10,000 for an appointment. You can keep your $10,000. What am I going to do with it? So Krishna is self-satisfied. He has everything within himself. Is that okay? Shall we have kirtan? And Hugh is leading.
Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Desha Tarane Namaste Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Paramhansa Parivrajacharya Stotra Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamana Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Thank you all for coming. Hare Krishna. And we have a few books in stock again. Hare Krishna.